most high volume consumer products, companies, manufacturers, distributors are moving things around their networks and truckloads. Why? Because that's the most economic on a cost per unit basis. When we have done surveys, and we did a survey in Georgia of 156,000 heavily loaded trucks, we found that a full 91% were nowhere loaded near their maximum capabilities. What does that mean? It means that approximately 90% of our trucks are underloaded. And what it also means is that if we could use that available, quote, free capacity, then we would reduce the number of trucks we need on the road. Fewer trucks, lower cost. So a truckload or order optimization tool is looking to say, here's all this volume, and I'll use a simple example where you've got a planning system that's creating a supply plan. Somehow we have to turn that into a minimum number of trucks. The supply plan comes out and it gives us, for example, 1.5 trucks, and we can fill up those trucks, but we can only get to halfway on this one. What do? Well, we look for what we need to ship the next day, and we fill that into that additional space, right? That's really basic stuff. We want to make sure it's full. But then think about the challenges of making that Tetris puzzle that is the truck both full and legal. We've got requirements that say you can't ship in North America a truck that has axle weights of greater than 34,000 pounds on the tandems. If those 34,000 pounds numbers are exceeded, we've got a problem. If we can't fit all the product into the trailer, we've got a problem. So one of the critical factors of optimization is not only that we can fill up the truck, and we'll talk a bit about that in a minute, but number two, that when we fill it up, that we can actually give the person loading that truck, here's how it's going to load, and oh, by the way, if you do that, it will be legal. Secondly, we want it to arrive damage-free. These are critical elements in this whole thing of optimization, because it doesn't make sense to build the fullest load you can, get it to the warehouse and not be able to execute it. That's the first and most important thing. Planning must match execution. The second part of that is, if you think about 2 cans, and I don't have any in my hands here, but a can of Diet Coke and a can of Coke, they're about the same, right? Look a little different. If you ship a truckload of Coke and a truckload of Diet Coke, okay, but you waste about 2,000 pounds when you do that. And one of the things that's interesting is Coke is a little heavier than Diet Coke because it has sugar in it. So the pellets are just slightly heavier. If you're clever and you mix the trucks together, you can actually get one more pellet on those 2 trucks. That's math optimization. And filling the truck is a complex problem that has math optimization. How do we put all these things together? And normally it's not just 2 items, it's 20, 30, 40, 50 items. How do we put these things together that truly fills out the truck and still remains legal and still is damage-free and provides the information to the warehouse? These are critical things that deliver a huge amount of value. And as I alluded to up front, if we say we can get 5% more on all trucks, that's, in a global sense, trillions of dollars over the period. Okay? In terms of an individual shipper, if I can save 5% of the trucks, that means every 20th truck I'm eliminating. And that's real money. So most companies see a 5 to 10% savings through doing load or order optimization, however you want to call it. And they see it through math programming, clever understanding of how things are going to be loaded and to make sure that they're legal and damage-free, and knowing that planning and execution are going to mesh, as opposed to the plan just doesn't work when it gets down to the warehouse.